It is always a pleasure to introduce Keisha Cook, who is going to talk to us about making a scientific poster. Oh, good call. Keisha.
Thanks for joining me today. Friday, homecoming festivities going on, but I wanted to talk with you all about making posters. I think that now every conferences and everything are back in person, and for those of you online, you can put questions in the chat or just say it out loud. I actually can't see the chat to ask questions, but feel free to chime in whenever. I want to tell you one about making scientific posters, number one, but then also a little information out there about our conference that we're hosting in February. And that is with myself, Ryan Carter, Professor Ryan Carter here, Kristen Savory, she's a grad student here, and then Miller is our undergraduate representative. And then our website for the conference, but I'll talk a little bit about that and why we want to do this poster workshop first. All right, so first to tell you about the conference. So it's called Math for All Conference, and we founded it at Tulane University, and it was originally 2020. And the purpose was to form a conference that allows students to feel comfortable like coming in for their first conference experience, right? So instead of being thrown into a SciAm annual meeting with thousands of researchers, undergrads, grad students, all of the above, everywhere, all the topics, 50 talks simultaneously in this huge conference center, but to have a nice small conference where you can, one, network with fellow students, your peers, network with faculty at your university, and then also learn how to apply these techniques in a smaller, more comfortable setting, and then go out into the conference world on your own and be successful. And so since then, last year was the first year we had satellite institutions. So it's still hosted locally at Tulane University. And last year we added satellites because all of us actually found new positions at different universities. So now we have a satellite here. There's Boston College, Colorado, Texas, Austin, and 2 other universities. But the point is we still want to come together and have this Math for All inclusive conference environment for you all to network with other students who may be at the same place you are, and then also here at Clemson, so you can start building your research portfolio. And that's usually starting with poster presentations, especially as an undergrad or grad student. So are you all grad students, undergrads? What about undergrad?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So undergrad is perfect. So this will be February 24th and 25th. You don't necessarily have to present anything if you would not like to, but it's good to come see what math research is, what you can do with your math major, some different ideas, see some different topics. So it'll be a wide range of topics, but it'll be these 2 days. And then we'll have a poster session actually on the Saturday. So about an hour and 15-minute session there for posters. So last year we had 2 poster presenters. It was smaller, it was like 20, 25 of us. And just being able to talk to these 2 students about their projects. One was a group poster and the other one was a single poster, but it turned out really great. So I'm sure Jen can share this website with you all, and you'll see some information like coming via email about signing up and registering for the conference. But it's free for you all. I definitely want you all to join if you are here. So this is our schedule of events for this year. We're going to have on the Friday, it's going to be Friday afternoon, some 2 plenary speakers. The plenary speakers will be streamed live. So there'll be a person at Tulane and we'll stream them here, but they'll have our own session of reflection and conversations here, networking in person. And we're going to do that with Math Club on that Friday. And then Saturday is the full day of events. We're starting out with our short talk session. So if you are doing some undergrad research projects or creative inquiry or anything like that, just talking with a professor, doing some undergrad research reading project, we're doing 5-minute lightning talk. So it's a good avenue to just give sort of a elevator speech of your research and what you're interested in. And then we'll have some plenary speakers, so 2 plenary speakers that day as well. In between them, there'll be the lunch and then the poster session. And then afterwards, the Saturday afternoon will be Math Jeopardy. So we came up with some really cool questions and games to play during that last hour of the conference. So I hope you all can join and spread that word to your friends as well, your classmates. But here's just some pictures from last year's event. So about 25, couple people in and out on different days, but it was Friday, Saturday last year. And we had a good time. So we had some virtual attendees and then everyone else in person. The first picture we joined with the math club that afternoon, so that was Friday as well. We had a graduate panel that talked about as an undergrad, how can you prepare for graduate school in math, and for the grad student, how can you prepare for a academic position in the future? So different topics on that panel. We don't have any panels this year, but instead we have our plenary poster sessions and our math Jeopardy. All right, so just to talk a little bit about poster sessions. So what is a poster session? What does it look like first is good. So you don't come into something and not know what's going on. But you have, your posters set up in a room similar to one of these fashions here. And if you standing by your poster, people will walk by, come ask you questions. Some people may have, read your poster in depth before you got there. People do that, take some notes and think more in depth about what your project may be, and then ask you for a brief overview. But a poster session, number one, is to not necessarily go heavy into the theoretical background of your project, but one, you have nice visuals so that you can attract people to your poster so they can see what kind of work you're interested in, and giving a thorough, just high level summary of your research project. So that includes, again, your references, your hypotheses. So in this case, it would be, what's the topic, what's the main question that you're trying to answer, some of your results, and maybe some discussion points. So some things that you have thought of, haven't actually completed enough work to maybe present it yet, but definitely things that you're thinking about, because that shows how your research can continue. And then from all of that information, you put together this poster for your attendees to come ask questions. And it's good to, not only try to answer their questions, because you know about your topic, but other people have ideas. So they can come up with completely different ideas that you haven't thought about. So it's important when you are doing these poster sessions to listen and take notes of new avenues that you could go down based on their ideas. And so usually you have about an hour to present, an hour and a half. But they usually break it up in half and half, where you can spend some time walking around with a few other posters as well. And then also maybe talk to people who stopped by on your poster earlier, and then just visit and see what other people are. That too can help you formulate ideas on future research ideas, future research projects, future research directions. Right? All right, so that is a general idea of a poster session, but how do you actually find a topic, especially if you're an undergrad and you're not necessarily in a graduate program yet focused on a research problem for a dissertation or master's degree? As an undergrad, you're taking your undergrad courses, you're just building all of your background mathematical knowledge that you would need for a research project. And maybe you go to your professor's office for office hours and you see that they have some cool posters in office, or they have some papers that they may be reading, or invite you into their research community. These are ways that you can think of choosing a topic, right? So like I mentioned now, so an individual or independent research project with a faculty member is a good idea for that. Your faculty members teaching different courses usually have research related to the courses that they're teaching. So you can always ask them, hey, do you have any projects that are fit for an undergrad? Something that I could maybe read more about and present the poster session. Now, keep in mind that for a poster session, you don't necessarily need to have concrete results, right? A poster session is to display your ideas and what you've been working with. So you can always present a poster without having a final thesis answer to the type of question that you're trying to answer. You can expand on assignments, projects, or other interesting topics that you think that you might enjoy learning more about in these classes that you're taking. There's a lot now with interdisciplinary studies. So for instance, I study math biology, so it's my research area. And for instance, if I was an undergrad and I was just getting into this, I would probably be interested in the intersection of math with biology, for instance, and maybe pairing up with a faculty member that's also in math biology, or maybe they have a colleague in biology who is doing some project that is fit for an undergrad student. And maybe they can come up with a project for me to think more about. But history of math is another good one. It's completely separate from your usual coursework, but maybe you're interested in that. And then there's also places that you can look for inspiration. These are journals. These are your professor's website. There's a couple of like there's three blue, one brown, and the name of these sites. They are just inspirational type websites where you can go to find questions that people are thinking of. And they may be completely, again, separate from your actual coursework, but it may be something interesting and leads you down a path of mathematics that you didn't know existed before, or may become more interested in a topic. The last three are actually sites where you can find published work from mathematicians or anyone working in mathematics. And so these archives, Google Scholar, these are all published topics, but maybe from reading through these papers, thinking of your own ideas, how can you apply this to the classwork that you're doing now, or in their discussion section of these papers, maybe they have some topics that you can expand on and try to think of as an undergrad. And again, feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. So along with finding a topic, you want to find a mentor. It's best to have at least someone helping you along this process of formulating a research problem or a research project, because a mentor will have a good way to structure or outline your experience, right? So these can be graduate students, these can be postdocs, your faculty members, or maybe another undergrad student who did for instance here, a creative inquiry class with another professor. So has a good idea of what math research is, and maybe you can work together. So pairing together with your peers to think about math problems for these type of projects and poster sessions. But outside of that, reaching out to a faculty member or anyone that I listed or mentioned, you can send a nice email, just say you're preparing for a conference, the Math for All conference that we're having in February, or, there's conferences such as the joint math meetings, the AMS, the Association for Mathematical Sciences.
I can say American Mathematical Society.
Oh yeah, American Mathematical Society, and then I was thinking of MAA, the Mathematical Association of America, and so those three, there's more, but anyway, so they all have conferences where they have undergrad poster sessions, and you can actually get funding. A lot of them have funding for undergrads to attend, and so that's perfect for opportunities for you to present. But reaching out and just asking kindly, this is also giving your mentor an idea of the timeline that you would need to complete this project. So making sure they know your timeline, what you're interested in, what kind of topic, what your poster session, or you're giving a short talk, something like that. But make sure you express interest in your topics, but then why you were interested in working with that specific person and why you want them to be your mentor. So thinking more about the actual poster itself, you usually have a nice layout. So I mentioned previously that you want a nice title, something that will capture the attention of the people who are walking around the poster session of, multiple students presenting on many different topics. So a nice big title. Usually want this in size to be 48 by 36, and organized by columns. So you read from left to right. You start with your problem statement, some background information, maybe columns 2 and 3 starts to work through what you actually did to solve the problem, what you are working. Maybe 3 starts to talk about what you're working on currently. And then section 4 is usually, if you have 4 columns, 3 or 4 columns, usually the norm here. But your last column should be focused on either your results, your discussions, or future directions that you're interested in. This is just a general layout of how you want to think about your poster when you are creating. There are actually some fonts that are better for these posters because people need to be able to read them clearly. So these are some of the nice fonts that are usually standard for poster presentations, especially now that some poster presentations are still virtual. If you are attending a conference and they have a virtual poster session, they have a way to display them in a virtual format, sort of like reading a PDF of your poster. And these fonts are good to translate to that online version of the poster session. But in person as well, these are all easy to read. They're bold. You can emphasize at certain points using different fonts here, but most of all, you just want to avoid it being hard to read so that people can focus on your research, everything that you're there to present. That is the point of having a simple, readable font throughout your entire poster. So I mentioned this, we were talking about the design, but these are just things to include, right? So I mentioned your abstracts, your background information. I didn't use the term methods, but your methods, what problems you've been solving, what have you solved, what maybe theorems or methods or equations that you use to try and solve the problem that you're interested in. And then your results, your conclusion, and some references. References are helpful because it's quite possible that, especially if there's faculty members visiting your poster, they probably seen some of these papers that you're interested in, and they can point you in another direction to try and answer your question, or just give you additional resources to help answer your research question. That's always very helpful in these settings. So I did talk about content a little bit, and I mentioned that you want to show the big picture, right? You want to talk about your main question, the big ideas, and leave out all the extra theory and details. You don't want too much on this poster. You want something to actually talk about as well. And then you want something that just captures the attention of others. And then they can see just a general idea of what you've been trying or what has been successful for your question. And it's easy for them to just pinpoint these ideas throughout your poster instead of reading an entire thesis on a big poster, right? So bullet points, short paragraphs, all those are good for you, for your poster. And for the last bullet I have here, we actually are going to print the posters for free. So if you are interested in presenting a poster at the conference, we'll print them for you and we'll have a submission link there. And yeah.
So you said there's like a template on like the website or whatever. How would you go about like editing that? Is that all like what software would you use?
I did talk about that. Let's see. Next page. The software for designing posters. So we have a template provided for you on the website. It is either PowerPoint, but others like to use LaTeX or Overleaf. And so you can Google actually Overleaf templates, poster templates. And so I know you all are undergrads, do you know what LaTeX or Overleaf is?
I know it. I've heard of it. My friends are being one of the guys taking it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Having these.
Yeah. So this is the way to typeset your math instead of using PowerPoint and writing out. It's great. And putting equations in math in PowerPoint. So LaTeX allows you to typeset, have really nice math equations, bunch of templates already there available for you. So in that text, if you wanted to edit, you would download the template and upload it to your, wherever you have your LaTeX or your overlay folder. And then when you go in, it will have sort of like the columns listed, and you can see where everything is coming from. You can just add your own information. You can add image files to overleaf as well, or LaTeX documents, the same thing. Overleaf is online, LaTeX is your local computer software that you can download. They're both free. Both are free. And then PowerPoint. So we have our template, it's PowerPoint, the one available on the website for the conference. That one is, well, it's PowerPoint, so you're gonna have to play around a little bit if you want to add equations, or you can write your equations in LaTeX, which most people do. Write them in LaTeX, screenshot, take a picture of that line and put them on your post. So that works as well. There are many ways to get all those equations, whatever makes you happy, but we have our templates, different versions, different places that templates are available. Any other questions about that? Does that answer your question? Okay, so then I wanted to talk a little bit about your pitch, right? So you're standing there, someone's awkwardly walking towards you, and you're like, all right, what do I say first? So you want to always start by introducing yourself, tell where your institution is, especially if you're not presenting here at Clemson. We know you're a student here, but if you're at a big conference, mention what university you're from. Maybe they have a colleague, maybe they can point you in their direction or something, but never know who knows people. It's a good networking tool to mention your institution. And then also what year you are in school, undergrad, what year you are, if you're a grad student, postdoc, etc. That is good for networking as well, because maybe there's an opening for a grad position at a university with a professor that comes to your poster, so, or they know someone who's working in your area, and they can point you again to a grad program that you may be interested in. So talk about you first, use this as an opportunity to network, and talk about your mentors, your collaborators who helped you, because we know that no one starts just on their own. You have some project that has been worked on, you're expanding on another idea in mathematical research in general. So talk about this, who you've worked with, what you all are working on. Again, your problem statement, your question, what are you interested in doing in the future, right? When you get to your middle columns in your poster, so that's your methods, you're gonna talk about, to mention some of the theory behind the equations that you're using, why you're using them, and things like that. All those details wouldn't be in your poster, but they'll be able to see the equation. The method, I meant the conclusions. In your conclusions, you want to make sure you are mentioning what you found, what worked, what didn't work, and what you're thinking about next. And again, it's the opportunity for the people who are attending your poster to give you ideas, and for you to keep these in the back of your mind when you go back home to your university and you're working on your research. Lastly, talk about what excites you. So it's always good to, when you're giving a presentation in general, a talk or a poster, specifically a poster presentation, to tell why you're excited about it. Why did you pick this topic? Instead of, it's not really a homework assignment at this point. This is something that you actually were interested in and you want to learn more about. I think I mentioned the second bullet already on the previous poster, but no details about formulas or how to actually solve a problem, and no like super detailed answers or advanced knowledge that the visitor may not know about, right? So with that being said, one thing I did mention was never assume that the person who comes to your poster knows about your research content. So it's an opportunity for, after you introduce yourself and what you're going to be talking about on your poster, to actually ask if the person that's coming to visit your poster is what they work on, or are they someone who's a researcher in this field, or are you familiar with, and throw out differential equations, like are you familiar with this topic before you start explaining, so then you know the level of depth you need to go into while you're explaining your poster. Right, so I mentioned some of these earlier, and just a couple more tips for your poster session. There are these really nice poster covers, so when you're actually traveling to conferences, you won't have to get your poster messed up. There's these containers, but now they also have cloth posters, so you can just fold it up and put it in your suitcase and then roll it out and hang it up very nicely when you get to your poster session. So these are all important for the visual of the poster. No one wants to see a poster that's all wrinkled and ripped when you get there. You just want it to look clean and nice to again keep the attention on you and your project instead of anything else that may be bothering to the eyes, right? Bring water, you're gonna be talking a lot outside of your project, be networking as well, so you'll be talking. And then move around, view the other posters. And then here was actually the list that I started to mention of some conferences that have poster sessions for undergrad. And so if Jim wants to share this presentation with you all, you have some good places to look for them. These are all spread out throughout the year, so it doesn't have to be during the semester. Some of these are summertime, some of these have a winter break, weekend, all of the above, but good opportunities that I would look for as an undergrad. And again, they fund undergrads to attend, so if you're looking to present a poster conference, a poster session at a conference, then also look for the funding because it's there and available. So prior to that, so any questions? I know you have a question about templates, but any other one? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I will share, Antonio, I will share the slides with Jim so that he can share that with you all. Right, so then I wanted to show you all just a couple of posters, right? So this is really small, and not necessarily going to say good or bad poster, but we just want to look at the poster in terms of what is the pieces of the poster that we talked about. So this one is very wordy because of the area that we are studying here. So this is like for the algebra. We have generating around points, yeah, isomorphics, take some algebra problems, but very wordy. So we have your topic, some theorems that you're interested in, some definitions. Definitions are, I guess, highlighted in this case to focus on those definitions, probably to go towards the question that they're trying to answer. Also, some facts, again, arranged as bullet points. To capture your eye there. And then on that last column, some results and a theorem. So in this case, the point here was to try to prove a topic. And so they showed some of the theorems that are actually applied to this, along with the references that they use. And we know that math research is going to be more than 2 references, but you want to note your most important references on your poster. So 2 to 3 references is good for a poster presentation, just to show where your main inspiration comes from. Right, so this is a more applied math poster. And so they have some nice graphics. In the first column, they have their abstract, and then a figure of the type of representation that they are interested in. This is the quantum entanglement. So just something to capture your eye and say, oh, what's that? Let me read a little bit more about this poster, see what they're talking about. They also went into detail, just giving a couple of equations. Again, not solving these equations, but just giving the equations that they use and what some of these values or parameters in this equation mean. And that's good for, let's say you stepped away from the poster for a second, someone else can come up and understand your poster without you actually reading it to them. So if you are quote unquote leaving out information, you want to make sure it's still readable if you're not actually standing at the poster. So include enough information so that everyone can follow. You come back in and fill in all the details as you're explaining, as people are asking questions. The second column, again, has some more equations. Again, not solving, but giving these solutions to what they were trying to solve in this case. Some references. So again, 3 references, and actually they gave a reference of one of the MATLAB codes that they were using. That's helpful if you're doing some coding, because people may want to try these methods out. Maybe someone's doing something similar to you. So sharing the wealth there, letting other people know that there's code available for you in this research area. And then in their results section, they have some nice numerical results. So a nice figure that explains what's happening. And again, less wordy on their results section, but they do have an explanation for a brief explanation for each figure, so that at least if you're coming to look at the poster, you can follow what each graph is telling you. Oh, and some acknowledgement. So lastly, that's a good thing that I did not mention actually. This poster has acknowledgements here. So acknowledging their mentors and the people who helped them and collaborated on this poster outside of Robert, who was, Robert was an undergrad. All right, and then this is actually a poster from one of my undergrad students while I was at Tulane. And so again, very applied in this case. So she had a lot of coding to do here. And she listed some questions. She built her model and made it just a nice chart to follow instead of a set of, I think she had like 12, 15 equations in this model, but it was differential equation based on differential equations. And then she had some figures with captions instead of going through equation based like the previous slide that Robert did. Abigail here, she summarized by using plots instead and talked about some of the results. So I would say simulations, not necessarily results, but simulations that were leading to the results of her questions. And then for hers, she has observations. So instead of solutions being written out, what did she observe from these simulations? And then where is she going to go next in her future work? And some equations that actually stem from some of the other equations that she had in her original. And so this is the last one I wanted to show. So again, this one has 4 columns, our usual template here. This one is more of a statistical analysis here. And this one we like because it was very, the title captures the attention. And then these nice big math figures here, your statistical analysis to try and capture the eye of people who are coming by. And they may be interested in math with Russia and Ukraine here. Say, oh, okay, let me go read more about this and talk about the introduction, what they were interested in mathematically or statistically in this case, and some of the methods that they use. So if you notice in this one, there's no equations, but they did mention by bolding each paragraph, each short paragraph, telling you about which methods are used to answer their question. And then your results, so giving 2 nice big figures to summarize both of their models that they use, so model 1 and model 2, and showing the result. And then talking just a little bit more about where they want to go, what they realized from their study, and some conclusions and where they want to go next with their research project. So, just a couple of examples here of what you can, or how you can think about presenting posters, and we specifically wanted to pick these 4 because they were different types of math. So from algebra, from applied differential equations, statistics, and I can't remember the second one, but all different areas of mathematics and how you can present them on a poster. Right, so in my last slide, I just want to make sure that you all know, especially as an undergrad, that it's okay to just go out there and make a poster now. Don't just, make it on a homework question that has one answer, right? But something to think about, something that you're interested, something that can go somewhere. Doesn't have to be a question that, that is completely, you can't even solve as an undergrad. You gain way more knowledge to even think about solving the problem, but it can just be something that is interesting to you, that has a problem that can be formulated for with a hypothesis, some simulation, some tests, some modeling, and then some results, right? So you don't have to have research experience, because this is a good beginning of your research career, right? You're just starting out. If you've never made a poster before, this again is a good start here. Start with a template, so you don't have to start from scratch. And it's also good for public speaking experience as well, because people are going to come ask you about your research. You know about your research topic because you're the one that's spending all the time doing this project. But they'll also ask you about other things, and that helps you learn how to answer questions on the fly, think on the fly, and things like that. And especially if you are a new math major, this will help you think about the process of mathematical research as opposed to just solving questions in class or on your homework. So, that's all I have for you all. Wanted to keep it not too long. It's Friday, homecoming, and we haven't been outside, but let me know if you have any questions, then you can reach out to myself or the other organizers. Thank you for being here. Any questions online before I stop the Zoom? All right, well, thank you all again, and feel free to be at the conference on in February. We love to have you there.